through experience. So I guess सबको समझ में आ ही गया होगा कि what this means, कि whatever your model is basically in machine learning, whatever we whatever the computer algorithm is, we generally call it a model or an agent. So that model or agent will improve through experience, right? So as it keeps on gaining experience over time, it will start learning things, and then we will be able to predict new things. Like we will make we will be able to make the agents and the models predict new things, and that's what machine learning is all about. So moving on, so what do we require for this? Like we know कि humans gain experience through interaction with the world. And like for example, if you are trying to walk, for example, a toddler is trying to walk for the first time, then it gains experience from its interactions with the world, right? But for agents or models, what do we require? So we require data, lots and lots of data. Basically data जो है सबसे important चीज़ है for neural networks. जितना डेटा होगा उतना ज़्यादा बेटर है, एंड उसका एक स्ट्रक्चर भी होना चाहिए. लाइक द डेटा शुड हैव अ स्ट्रक्चर टू इट, सो दैट यू कैन यूटिलाइज इट इन ट्रेनिंग योर मॉडल्स, न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स, राइट? सो जितना अमाउंट ऑफ डेटा होगा, अब दिस डेटा कैन बी इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इमेजेस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल तुम्हारे पास डॉग की इमेजेस हैं, कैट्स की इमेजेस हैं, एंड उनको वो सारी labeled है that okay, this is a dog image and it is labeled कि yes it's a dog, and cat images बहुत सारी हैं, yes it's labeled it is a cat. So ऐसा बहुत सारा डेटा, या फिर हो सकता है ग्राफिकल डेटा इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कोई भी क्या कहते हैं, जैसे हाउस प्रिडिक्शन पॉइंट्स हो गए, या फिर कोई भी तुम्हें हाउस प्रिडिक्शन करना है तो कि हाउस का प्राइस क्या है, एंड तुम्हें उसके ये पता है फीचर्स कि अच्छा इसमें इस हाउस में इतने रूम्स हैं एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. तो if you have all this data, then you can give that to the agent or the model, and through experience, like through going through that data and stuff, it will be able to learn new things. So this is what we require for machine learning. And then moving on, so what can we do with this data? So like there are basically three sub branches होते हैं machine learning के, and like these are the only like main sub branches जो हम use करते हैं. तो first of all we come to supervised learning. So what supervised learning is actually, for example, you can see here that there is a cat, there is a dog, ठीक है, and the data here will be in the form of millions and millions of images. कि cats की बहुत सारी images होंगी, and there will be a lot of images of dogs, and then there will be a supervisor. अब supervisor का मतलब ये होता है कि it will tell you कि what this image of a cat is actually a cat and this image of a dog is actually a dog, right? तो तुम्हारा लेबल्ड होंगे सारे images की this is dog, this is cat. And while training your model, when the model learns, you tell it कि this is a cat, this is a dog, and through that experience, after knowing कि अच्छा oh this is a cat, this is a dog, and after going through millions and millions of images of cats and dogs, knowing that which is a cat, which is a dog, it is able to learn and predict कि when it is given a random image of a cat, which is not what you used for training the model, it is able to detect and predict कि अच्छा this is a cat and this is a dog. So this is what is supervised learning, and it basically consists of having a supervisor जो तुम्हें टीचर होता है बेसिकली, कि कोई टीचर है जो तुम्हें बता रहा है कि अच्छा ये कैट है एंड ये डॉग है. तो दैट इज व्हाट इज सुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग, एंड दिस इज द फर्स्ट ब्रांच ऑफ मशीन लर्निंग. देन वी कम ऑन टू अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग. तो अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग में ये होगा कि जैसे काफ़ी सारे इमेजेस तुम्हें गूगल वगैरह पे मिल जाएंगे, फॉर एग्जांपल कैट्स एंड डॉग्स की मिल जाएंगे बहुत सारे इमेजेस, बट वो लेबल्ड नहीं होंगे. लाइक यू विल हैव टू लेबल देम प्रॉपरली कि अच्छा ओ मैंने डाउनलोड कर ली डॉग्स की इमेजेस, अब मेरे को इन सबको या तो एक फोल्डर में डाल दूँ जिसमें सारे डॉग इमेजेस हो, और या फिर सबको लेबल करूँ एक्सप्लिसिटली कि अच्छा ये डॉग है ये कैट है. बट वो जनरली काफ़ी बहुत ही मुश्किल होता है. लाइक फॉर मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ इमेजेस दैट इज प्रीटी डिफिकल्ट. सो हम एक कॉन्सेप्ट लगाते हैं अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग, वेयर देर इज नो सुपरवाइजर, नो बडी टेल्स यू वॉट टू डू, एंड what is exactly the what does the image exactly tell you. मतलब कि फॉर एग्जांपल ये images हैं, ये बहुत सारी फेसेस बने हुए हैं, लाइक यहाँ पे ह्यूमन फेसेस. तो देर इज नोबडी टू टेल यू कि हु दिस पर्सन इज और कौन है ये, बस इतना पता है कि फेसेस हैं. सो इफ यू वांट टू ट्राई एंड लर्न कि हाउ दिस डेटा लुक्स लाइक, कि ये डेटा है क्या हमारे पास, एंड उसको हम खुद से रीजेनरेट करें, एनालाइज करें, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग. जैसे मैं अगर मान लो कि ये मैंने डेटा लिया इनपुट में, एंड मेरे को ऐसी ही कुछ इमेजेस बनानी है बट नॉट एग्जैक्टली दिस। फॉर एग्जाम्पल मेरे को किसी और ह्यूमन के फीचर्स और दूसरे ह्यूमन के फीचर्स एक कंबाइन करने, एंड आई डोंट वांट इट टू बी सेम जो इसमें था। तो उसको लर्न करना कि ये डेटा दिखता कैसा है एंड एक रियलिस्टिक ह्यूमन फेस बनाना, दैट इज अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग। ठीक है, एंड यहाँ पे कोई सुपरवाइजर नहीं होता। सो दीज आर द फर्स्ट टू ब्रांचेस ऑफ मशीन लर्निंग, सुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग एंड अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग। द थर्ड इज reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning में क्या होता है कि whatever you train your agent or model, it is trained by trial and error. मतलब कि वो जैसे एक टॉडलर होता है जो इट इज ट्राइंग टू वर्क, जैसे मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था, तो इट विल ट्राई आउट डिफरेंट थिंग्स, एंड वंस इट ट्राइज आउट डिफरेंट थिंग्स इट विल इनिशियली ऑब्वियसली फेल, बट एज विद एक्सपीरियंस इट विल नो कि अच्छा दिस एक्शन वाज नॉट गुड. फॉर एग्जांपल दिस एजेंट यू कैन सी इज ट्राइंग टू वर्क this biped. So even though it's trying to work, initially it will fail, but slowly with experience it will know कि अच्छा this should be for walking, and when there is a gap I should jump, ऐसे it will continue on learning. So this is what we can do with data. अच्छा अब data इसमें क्या था, supervised learning में labeled images थी, अनसुपरवाइज्ड लर्निंग में अनलेबल्ड इमेजेस जो रैंडम इमेजेस होंगी बहुत सारी, एंड रीइंफोर्समेंट लर्निंग में बेसिकली डेटा होते हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस कि तुमने कैसा इंटरेक्शन किया वर्ल्ड के साथ, वो तुम्हारा एक्सपीरियंस होता है. सो दिस इज ऑल द डेटा दैट वी रिक्वायर इन दीज थ्री डिफरेंट ब्रांचेस ऑफ मशीन लर्निंग. सो मूविंग ऑन. तो अब न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स जो हमारे मेन टॉपिक है उस पर आते हैं. तो हाउ इज इट अ पार्ट ऑफ ऑल दीज प्रॉब्लम्स, लाइक मैंने इतनी चीज़ें बोली बट हाउ इज इट अ पार्ट ऑफ दीज प्रॉब्लम्स. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ कम्स सुपरवाइज लर्निंग. तो सुपरवाइज लर्निंग मैंने जैसे बोला कि एक कैट होती है, उसको प्रिडिक्ट कर सकता है न्यूरल नेटवर्क इट इज़ अ कैट. डॉग अगर जाता तो बोलता कि ओके दिस इज अ डॉग. सो न्यूरल नेटवर्क बेसिकली ये दिख रहा होगा, दिस इज अ न्यूरल नेटवर्क. ठीक है, आगे एक्सप्लेन होगा अच्छे से डिटेल में. तो what this neural network does is basically it takes an input. It can be in the form of image, it can be in the form of sequence, कुछ भी हो सकता है, like text हो सकता है, image हो सकती है, it can be in the form of random numbers जो like स्टॉक मार्केट या कुछ में तुम्हें कोई डेटा मिला है एंड वो तुम्हें डालना है प्रिडिक्शंस करने, तो ये सब होता है. तो ये बेसिकली सुपरवाइज लर्निंग में देख रहा होगा कि कैट्स इसमें इनपुट डाली न्यूरल नेटवर्क के थ्रू एंड यू गॉट अ आउटपुट एज कैट की इट प्रिडिक्टेड दैट इट इज अ कैट. तो दिस इज जनरली कॉल्ड क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ इमेजेस एंड इट कम्स अंडर सुपरवाइज लर्निंग, जो मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बताया था कि इट हैज अ सुपरवाइजर. ठीक है. देन कम्स ऑन गैन्स. तो आई गेस पिछले कॉर्स की ओरिएंटेशन में गैन्स का थोड़ा एक इंट्रो दिया था, बट अगर नहीं भी कोई आया था तो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. गैन्स का बेसिकली जैसे मैंने बोला था कि अनसुपरवाइज लर्निंग में डेटा है हमारे पास, अनलेबल्ड डेटा, एंड उसको लर्न करने की वो कैसा दिखता है एंड वैसा ही डेटा जनरेट करने की कोशिश करते हैं हम. तो वही गैन्स यूज होता है एंड इसमें भी न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स ही यूज होते हैं. यहाँ पे देखोगे दो न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स ही हैं. ठीक है, आगे जाके और इसको हम डिटेल में बताएंगे. देन कम्स ऑन रीइंफोर्समेंट लर्निंग. तो रीइंफोर्समेंट लर्निंग में क्या होता है कि जैसे यहाँ पे तुम्हें देख रहा होगा एक कॉन्वोल्यूशनल न्यूरल नेटवर्क होता है. तो कॉन्वोल्यूशनल न्यूरल नेटवर्क कुछ नहीं होता, मतलब अभी घबराना मत. बस एक वो न्यूरल नेटवर्क होता है जिसमें इमेज डालते हैं. ऐसा मान लो कि इस न्यूरल नेटवर्क में हम इमेज डालते हैं rather देन नंबर्स या कुछ सीक्वेंस लाइक टेक्स्ट वगैरह. ये स्पेसिफिकली इमेजेस के लिए होता है. तो देखो जैसे यहाँ पे लाइक कोई मारियो का गेम है एंड मारियो की गेम पे जो मारियो का गेम है उसको हमने कॉन्वोल्यूशनल न्यूरल नेटवर्क में डाल दिया. देन इट विल प्रिडिक्ट कि अच्छा आई एम इन दिस स्टेट कि मैं यहाँ पे हूँ एंड शुड आई रन शुड आई जंप. ठीक है. सो दिस इज व्हाट रीइंफोर्समेंट लर्निंग इज एंड थ्रू एक्सपीरियंस इट विल लर्न ट्रायल एंड एरर से. तो इसलिए लाइक ये शो होता है कि लाइक न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स काफी बहुत बड़ा पार्ट है. हर जगह न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स ही यूज होंगे एंड मतलब न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स के अलावा रेयरली तुम लोग कुछ यूज करोगे इन मशीन लर्निंग डीप लर्निंग. ठीक है. सो मूविंग ऑन. सो अब ये न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स आए कहाँ से, वेयर डिड वी गेट दिस फ्रॉम. तो आई गेस तुम्हें आइडिया होगा ही अपने स्कूल वगैरह से कि आवर ब्रेन हैज मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ न्यूरॉन्स. मतलब बहुत सारे मिलियंस ऑफ न्यूरॉन्स इंटरकनेक्टेड होते हैं हमारे ब्रेन में. एंड वहीं से इनिशियली आइडिया आया था कि अगर ब्रेन इतना सारा काम कर सकते हैं, इफ इट कैन learn so many things and it can predict so many things, human brain, then why not incorporate that method in computer algorithms. तो इसके थ्रू न्यूरल नेटवर्क्स बना था. एंड अगर तुम यहाँ देख सकते हो न्यूरल नेटवर्क होगा एक, एंड इसमें बहुत सारे न्यूरॉन्स जो तुम बोल रहे होगे, अभी आगे एक्सप्लेन भी होगा कि क्या होता है. तो बहुत सारे न्यूरॉन्स होंगे एंड वो सारे इंटरकनेक्टेड होंगे एक न्यूरल नेटवर्क में. सो यही है. एंड आई मूव ऑन लाइक नाउ आई गेस सोमनाथ विल कंटिन्यू.
Somnath, request again.
It's waiting for approval.
Request again. Denied. Request again.
No, it's still waiting for approval. I can't.
Okay, fine. You just
Okay,
tell me next slide. I'll
fine.
change.
So yeah, as Yash did explain, how we are inspired. Yeah, just a second. I guess now I got it. Accepted. Okay. So as Yash did explain in the previous slide, that we are inspired from a human brain, and the basic concept of using a neuron to process everything or to think basically is what is used in machine learning as well. As you know, that neuron is a fundamental building block in the brain. We also have a very similar thing named as neuron itself, wherein we get inputs and outputs. Wherein in the biological brain we had dendrites which used to take electrical signals from other neurons. Here, the mathematical neuron takes in numbers and gives out a number. This is very helpful, as in you'll see in the next slide. Uh, yeah, wherein this is being used in a neural network. Basically, here every each circle represents a neuron, and you can see here there are input and there are a lot of outputs. Now, I would like to point that all the data comes in from the left and goes out from the right. That is, you get inputs, each values. There is an operation happening inside a neuron. It processes the input and it gives out a particular output to the next neuron, and hence we do a lot of processing, and at the end of the day we get an output which is more meaningful and more useful to us. So neural network is basically the combination of these neurons. And to brief a little bit about what a neuron actually is doing under the hood, is basically a mathematical function or a multiplication between the inputs and some values called as weights or bias. Basically, you would be learning this in more detail, but what I really want to point out here is each of these inputs may not contribute a lot to what we have to do in the particular instance. So we add some kind of weights to it, that how useful they are and how not so useful they are, and hence we get an output. That's the basic idea of the neuron in the whole neural network, and many of these neurons act together in tandem to get a very good output for us, or a very useful output. Example of this is as Yash did explain, the dog and the cat slide. But I believe now you would be able to understand a little bit more that when a dog image is being input in the left, it's basically a array of values. It's a lot of mathematical values that comes into the input. Each neuron can't make out a lot of stuff, but a lot of neurons together in tandem makes out a lot of things about it. That what is the color of it, or how big is it, or what kind of phase structure does it act. Each neuron gets one kind of output, and hence gives it to the next. Hence the whole neural network, hence at the end of the day, can guess either is it a dog or a cat. So and here you can see I have put arrows here. Arrows do mean the direction of the flow of data or values. Basically, the dog image comes in from the left, then it does some mathematical operations, then goes to the right, and henceforth. And this is called forward propagation, wherein we get the output. Now I would take a bit of time to explain what a loss function is. Now, basically, as you did see in the previous slides, or as Yash did explain, neural nets try to estimate something. It tries to predict something. So basically, these predictions or estimations are not correct, and we need a supervision. So this supervision is not a person; he is not a teacher or anything. It's a function or value or a methodology that we use. Basically, you can see in the left that there is a something named as actual image. This is an image of a hand, human hand, and the one in the middle is an image of a robotic hand. And let's say we are trying to make the robotic hand become imitate the human hand. So you can see basically the difference. Like say the third image, that is the mismatch in the boat. The whole white area that you can see is very big. Let's say if they were overlapping each other, the white area would be very very less, and hence you can see whenever you did let's say do some work in life and you did get a bad impact on it, you did try to improve. So basically, that is basically the idea of loss function or a supervision. That is that you get some kind of losses in life and you try to learn from them. So basically, here you can see the difference of the images. If they were more overlapping, that is the robot is doing a very good estimation. Then it means the loss is very less and it doesn't have to learn a lot. Or if let's say in this case the overlapping is too big, so it has to try to go there. So there is a very big amount of loss in what the model estimates and what the reality is. So basically the step of updating this, or what this supervision was for, is basically something called as back propagation. So this back propagation is totally mathematical, but it's very much intuitional also. That is, let's say in life you did do something wrong and you got a negative impact on yourself. So what you do at that point of time is you just stop and you just think back. You go back, you go back event by event and see where did I go wrong, or what did go wrong. So basically this loss, or the bad thing that happened, was the cause of you thinking back all this. Hence the loss function comes in as a supervision, and then after that you go one step back, as you can see here. After calculating the loss, there's something called as back propagation, where the data is going inverse direction of the back forward propagation, from the output to the input. That is the right to the left. So you go one step back, you go the other step back, and the other step back. This is to correct your methodology. Basically, what it was, let's say you have priority in your life. You have certain priorities in your life that you showcase with your weights. So basically, you may think that let's say enjoying at this point of time is more better than studying or something. So that kind of ideology or weights or priority that you give, maybe at the end of 4 years you may not feel that's very useful to you. So then you do let's say you have some bad impacts on yourself and you do learn, okay, that was not the way to go around. I should change my priority list. So you go one step back, you think about your 4th year, you think about your 3rd year, or so on, and then you get to the ideology that okay, these were the things that had to be made better, and hence you update your weights. Basically, so that is a very intuitional way of saying it. Mathematically it's little different, but yeah, you would be learning it on yourself, as it's not possible to explain in workshop. So I will be handing over to Love, where he would be explaining this further more.
Yeah, going deep. What it is mean? When the neural network has a large number of layers, then this is called deep neural network. Deep neural network has the ability to learn more complex things as compared to a neural network with few layers. Okay, thus it is more powerful in predicting values. Okay, next slide. Next slide, Vikhyat. Okay. Like, like different part of our brain which is used for certain tasks, we have similarly we have different type of neural network which is best for certain specific tasks. Like RNN, LSTM, or GRU is used for natural language understanding. Convolutional neural network is generally used for image processing, or the image classification, object detection, object segmentation like tasks, or the auto-encoder neural network is generally used for compression type problems. Here there are different type of neural networks which are available. Next slide. Let's take a quick visualization on each of these neural networks. Play the video.
So basically, these are the kinds of networks that are shown in the video.
This is convolutional neural network, which is generally used for image processing, image like problem, computer vision problems.
Okay, so I'll take over from here. So hello, I'm Vikhyat. I'll be talking about how to build your own neural network. Now, while learning, it is better if you do it yourself. Like while learning anything, it's better if you implemented everything from scratch. Like in Python, if you sit and implement everything, like the feed forward networks, the back propagation, as Soma talked about, the loss function. So while learning, you'll have to code everything by yourself to get a feel of how they work. But while implementing, your code will not be the most optimized and error-free available. Like there are people who've made this their life's work to work on these things, and they've implemented wonderful libraries. So these libraries are TensorFlow and PyTorch. So TensorFlow is from Google and PyTorch is from Facebook. Keras is an abstraction of TensorFlow, which is currently maintained by Google. So now these libraries are designed to get the best performance out of both CPUs and GPUs. So now Google has made an extra hardware device for deep learning itself called Tensor Processing Unit (TPU). So this is how important it is. Google is making a new hardware device for deep learning. So you can understand how amazing this topic is. Now Keras is like the bread and butter for beginners. So it is very easy to build a model using Keras with just a few lines of code. Normally, if you have to, I'll show you later how different it is building a neural network using these libraries and building neural network from scratch. It is quite difficult. It is quite difficult to build it from scratch, and that's why these libraries are implemented for you. So in Keras, everything you can consider every layer of the neural network. Like Somnath showed, there are different layers in neural network. So you can consider every layer to be one line of code, and all the standard layers are already implemented and given to you, so you don't have to do very much changes to make stuff work. But there's a disadvantage of this as well. It is very inflexible. You cannot it is very difficult to implement your custom layers. Suppose you were doing some research about anything and you want to create your own layer. So using Keras, it is quite difficult, but in the libraries like TensorFlow and PyTorch, it is not very difficult. So Keras is more of a starting point to neural networks. It works well, but it is very inflexible. Like you don't have very much choice. So they're normally used to get stuff up and running very quickly. Suppose you want to try something like in 5-10 minutes, I want to try some code. So I use Keras. So that's how you use them. Now, all these libraries are open source, so you can see their code and documentation and everything on GitHub. But understanding it will be a challenge to most. But their implementation is quite simple, and you can use them wherever you want. But understanding the code is quite difficult. So we look at an example of Keras in the next slide. Now, building your own neural network. Now, one thing you must understand is uh, building a network in DL is a very computationally expensive task. So it is not recommended that you train these locally on your computer because most of your computers, first of all, don't have GPUs. And even if they have GPUs, using them for a long time actually spoils them. Like if you play games, you normally play 2-3 hours at once and it starts heating up. So imagine if you train these for hours, days, and weeks on it. Like that's how long these machine learning models take to train. So it is not very good for your GPU. So it may cause hardware damage as well. So deal with these problems. The people of Google have made this website called Google Colab, as you can see here. So this website is actually it is made for students like us, for us to use, so that the deep learning doesn't become a monopoly of the big companies. So people like us can use Google Colab, and we get 12 hours. The limitation is that you can only train for 12 hours at a time. So, but these limitations can be overcome by using Google Drive storage. So, Google, as long as many of you will know, and if you haven't noticed, it's better for you to know that our institute email ID, Google institute email ID Drive, doesn't have the 15 GB storage limit. So you can use these for all good purposes, such as like this. So Google Colab is basically where most of us do our training of DL models of any type. So anything like which is highly computationally expensive, which takes a long time to train, put on Colab, leave it for 12 hours, come back, put it again. So that is the way we do it. So now this is how Colab looks like. So you can run an environment whenever you want, and you can start. You have this much amount of 15 G. I think you have 15 GB of RAM storage as well. So now this is a cat versus dog image. I just want to show you how the code looks like. just as an interactive session. So this part is loading the data set. So now we have to get the data set first of all. So it contains 25,000 images of cats and dogs. So you have to feed this into the network. You have to feed this into the network, and it has its own outputs. So the network will learn which one, what is a cat and what is a dog. Now all this is just implementation issues. This is just listing. Now here you can actually plot the image. 1 second, let me just run this.
By the way, this is all happening. This is not at all happening in your local computer.
This is all happening in
So,
collab
like, you
servers.
can
You
run
can see.
this.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is actually, you can see this network speed here, right? 122 Mbps. So if any of you have this much network speed, please contact me. I want to come to your house. So this doesn't happen. This happens in Google servers wherever they are. So you don't have to download anything locally. Actually, everything happens there. Whatever you need to see. So like suppose I have to view an image here. There'll be an image. 1 second. So only these images are downloaded. You can see the dog images and the cat images. Only these images are downloaded. But the rest of the stuff, like 25,000 images, are not downloaded to your local computer. So if you train it locally, you have to download them. Then you have to extract them. Then again, you have to work with them. So it is a very it's a hassle. That's all I can say. So this is much easier. You can load it whenever you want and you can train whenever you want. So now see, this is the magic of Keras. Now if I had to write this in using this thing, if I had to write this from scratch, you can see it here. The same code without the backprop. Now the main problem is the backprop algorithm. Without that, it will be this long. This is just defining a connet. This is how big it is, and then as you can see, it just keeps going. It doesn't stop, and this is for defining a single layer. You can see how big this article is, and this is not even applying the backpropagation algorithm, which is the main problem, like where the main problem comes in. So this is actually how big it becomes. And Keras just makes it one line: conf max pooling. That's it. That's all you have to do. So Keras is like a boon for all of us. It is so much easier to train stuff here. But as I said, it is not very easy to change everything. Like if I want max pooling, if I want a different version of max pooling, if I want to implement a custom version of max pooling, whatever it is. Now max pooling is not important to know for you to know what max pooling is. But if I want to implement a custom version of everything, it becomes difficult. So now as I can train this, it'll take a few minutes to train. So that is one main disadvantage of thing. It takes time. It'll take few minutes. So till then I'll go to the next slide. So now we can visualize what is actually happening in the neural network. So let me just open this. So now this is a simple convolutional neural network. So the word as Yash said, the word convolutional neural network means it deals with images. So now images cannot be run with directly neural networks. It requires a specialized type of neural network. So now what this does is uh, you can open this link right now if you want. If you wish, it is I think he'll put it in the chat right now. So you can open this link right now, and you can see these different types of images. This one is of I don't know what this is. This is a boat, and this one I think is a what this is. Very weird things. See, I mean, I don't know what this is, but the neural network actually learns how to predict it. It's a ladybug, as the network says. So now it is a coffee cup. Now this espresso, whatever it is. So now as you can see, this image is of 64 by 64 by 3. Now the shapes are quite important in neural networks. 64 by 3. Now if you've seen your screen resolution of your computers, you can see it is 1280 by 720 or something like that. So now this is 64 by 64 by 3, which means it has a width of 64, a height of 64, and a depth of 3. Now depth of 3 means it's RGB channel. So as you know, any image is represented as R, red, green, and blue. So this is fed into the network. So now if I click this part, you can see where the weights are coming from. 1 second. So if I hover over this, you can see if you can see this part, you can see this is the amount of weight, 0.16 into 0.14. So this is the beauty of neural networks. It is nothing but numbers, matrices. Now all of you have studied matrices. You can see these weights changing as I hover over this. This is the magic of neural networks. In essence, they are matrices of numbers which multiply and add together to give you new numbers. These matrices keep changing in order to reduce a penalty, which is the loss function at the end. So in a slightly technical manner, I can say that you are trying to find a minima to the loss function. And that will change the value of these weight matrices. So there's a loss function, the penalty function as Somnath mentioned. So that you want to reduce that penalty function. So the neural network will try to do whatever it has in its power, like changing these numbers 0.51, 0.52. It'll try changing these numbers in order to reduce that loss function. So now to reduce the loss function, we use this algorithm called backpropagation. Now this might sound slightly complicated, but this forms the essence of DL. And this you will learn as you go along. So now multiplying these images, pixel values with the images, we get a new output image. This is the new output image. So now this is fed into another layer, another layer, another layer, another layer, another layer. Finally, you get at the end, you get it as an espresso. So now I'll just show you how this works. So now at the end, you have a softmax function. Now this basically, these numbers are the confidence. So how confident it is that it is a lifeboat, and how confident it is that it is a ladybug, and then pizza, and then bell pepper. So you can see the highest confidence is for an espresso. So this gives you a 0.88%, sorry, 88% chance that it is an espresso. So the network can confidently say that I think it is an espresso. So that's how it predicts. Now this visualization skips over many technicalities. I have not gone into any technicality as of yet. I've just name dropped. So this is basically how this works. If this is trained, I can actually show you some visualizations. See, this is how the network actually, this is how the network can actually see the images. So the first images, as you can see here, were quite high resolution. So the network basically reduces the resolution, reduces the information, and finally it gets something like this. So now that will help it. So this makes it sparse. So you can read all this at your own leisure. So these are the graphs. You'll understand this later. So basically, this is how this stuff works. So yeah, Nishant bhai, I'll take over after this.
Right. So I guess someone will Yash or Vikhyat, you put the links in the chat. So I guess, and we'll share the slides as well, so that's not a problem. So these are some basic starting links which you can use, right, to like get to know more about this. Maybe this entire workshop was a bit too technical, but that is completely fine. You can like watch these tutorials videos at your own pace and basically learn. So basically these provide a good starting points. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, so the next slide, please. Yeah, and lastly, these are some contacts. You can ping us anytime and we'll answer your questions. So I guess with that, we should end it. I'll just end the recording.